Hola, ¿cómo estáis? Bienvenidos al RodgarLounge. Once more, I'm here with Grecco Buratto, who is not only one of my favorite musicians in LA that I met since I came from Spain, but also one of my favorite people and somebody that truly inspires me every time. So, welcome.
Thank you.
Probably somebody already knows you with the song that we collaborated, Meu Sonho,
Right.
that we wrote together for the RodgarBand for the album. And but I want to talk a little bit about your. I mean, you're an amazing, not only artist, but an amazing guitar player. And some people know you as a session player. They don't know so much of your solo stuff and how you sing. And some, and some people that actually know that maybe don't know all your career.
Right.
So I don't know if you want to say a little bit of your background. You come from Brazil, right?
Yeah, I moved here in 1995. I wanted to be here since I was 12 years old. I saw this catalog of a music school called Musicians Institute. And at 12 years old, I decided that, okay, this is where I'm gonna go. This is what I want to do. So from 12 to 18, it was a period of preparing and studying and gathering the financials necessary to make the move. So I got here, I was 19 at the time, or 18, turning 19. And went to school for about a year and a half. And it was great. It was a great experience. And after that, I had decided already that I wanted to stay.
Right.
By the time I finished school, I was in a band, and a band called World Without Sundays, and with the exception of me, everybody was American.
Okay.
And we did the rounds. We had a production deal with a very nice gentleman called Del Williams, and we produced a demo, a 4-song demo, and we shopped the demo around, and we did showcases for record companies. And but looking back now, I can see that we were not ready. And we did that, and we obviously nobody signed us at that point. And we went through the depression that comes with it.
Right.
And then we got out of it, and we decided to self-produce our first album,
Okay.
which we did. And we ended up becoming sort of pseudo-celebrities by association, because we were good friends with a lot of the people in the Lord of the Rings movies.
Okay.
So we played one of their...
You do a duet with Gollum? No.
No, he was not available.
He was not available.
But we did play their after Oscar party.
Okay, nice.
For the fans. And so after that, we kind of, became known in that circle of people and fans. But at the time, I was already playing a lot of Brazilian music with a lot of Brazilian bands in town.
Right.
And I decided that... this is a few years after that. I decided that I had already been offered tours.
Right.
I was doing session work, but I was committed to the band, so I was not taking these offers.
Right.
Because, well, I'm in the band, and I want to, I want to
push
make
it.
Yeah, I want to concentrate on that, focus on that. And then after a while, I decided to okay, well, next time I get an offer, if it's music that I like, and if the money is good, and if I know the people and the people are nice, I'm gonna do it.
Right.
And I don't know, maybe about a month later or so, I got a call from Ayrton Moreira, and I had recorded a song for Flora's album at the time, or 2 songs. And he was like, "We really liked what you did, and we have this tour in Europe next month, but we're not gonna be able to have a rehearsal."
Right.
And I'm like, I had never been to Europe at that point, or I had been to Spain, but not anywhere else. And I was like, yeah, I'm definitely interested. Let's do it. And so I went and did that. And then little by little, I started getting calls to do more travel.
I wonder why. You're ridiculous, man.
Well, it was more of a thing of I was making myself available
Right, right.
instead of,
Closing that
yeah,
door.
instead of leaving the door closed.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So, you know, one thing led to another, and got recommended from one gig to the next, to the next, to the next. And that was about it. And then in 2006, I quit the band,
Mm-hmm.
and I realized that I had enough material to put an album out.
Mm-hmm.
And then I took a trip I had a gig in Cape Verde, in the Cape Verdean
Yeah.
Islands, with an artist called Maria de Barros.
Mm-hmm.
And we spent a month there. And my goal going there was to finish my album, finish
Mhm.
writing the album.
Mm-hmm.
Because our schedule was pretty relaxed. We had perhaps a gig on Saturday, and then we had the week off,
Right.
and then another gig the following Saturday or
Mhm.
Friday. So I went there and fell in love, found a muse,
Mm-hmm.
and then I really began writing.
Mm-hmm.
And I sort of had a spiritual awakening there. And when I came back to LA, I was fully committed to putting these songs out, because I really thought the songs were coming from a real genuine place.
Right.
They,
Right.
but the thing is, I had never sung before.
Mm-hmm. Oh wow.
Yeah, so I had when I was a teenager or a kid, and then I stopped, and so
You're
like,
more involved in the
yeah, I
guitar
did,
world and
yeah,
touring and all that.
I went to play guitar.
Mhm,
That was my
mhm.
thing. And so when I came back, I decided to play and sing these songs,
Right.
because I believed in them.
Mm-hmm.
And I called a friend of mine called Kenny Cordova, who had a wine bar
Mm-hmm.
on Fairfax and 3rd,
Mm-hmm.
called Bodega de Cordova.
Okay.
And he only sold Spanish wines and Spanish cheeses,
Right,
and
right.
that kind of stuff. And he was amazing with me, because he said, you can come here and you can do whatever you want. I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna play Girl from Ipanema. I'm not gonna do that kind of stuff. He's like, no, it's okay. You come here and you play your songs, and that's great. Cool. So for the next year, anytime I was in town, I would go there and play my
Yeah,
songs.
play your songs.
And I decided to do that in a way that I was the most vulnerable possible, with just the acoustic guitar and vocals.
Mm-hmm.
And I was super scared,
Right.
terrified.
Right.
But I went and I did it, and obviously the Spanish wine helped a bit at that time. And I had already met one of the producers for my album, and he kept coming to the gig and say, "Hey man, when are we gonna do this album? When are we?" And I was like, "Well, I'm not ready yet."
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "Well, if you say that, you're never gonna be ready." And I was like, "Trust me, I know when I want to commit to something, I know what that's gonna take."
Mm-hmm.
So eventually, this was 2007. I say, "Okay, I'm ready."
Right.
So and then we started to pre-production.
Pre-production.
Yeah. And it was a year later we started recording the album.
Okay.
And the album took 7 years to make,
No.
because I was touring, and we had recorded drums at Ocean Way at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and it sounded so good that it was a great problem to have, but now we had to match everything to the sound,
that level,
to
right.
that level.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the real journey.
Right.
Of like, okay, how do I, even playing guitar had to be done differently,
Right.
because it was not the session guy playing guitar,
Mhm,
it was
mhm.
the artist playing guitar.
Right.
So I had to own
Yeah.
the way of playing. It's
Right.
like, oh, I'm just not, no, it's everybody's
It's
following
you,
me.
right.
So I had to, and we had, we made a bunch of mistakes, and we learned from them, and
Mm-hmm.
then we put the album out. And I still do divide my time between those two things.
Right. Right.
Um,
I'm curious to maybe a lot of people, the same journey that we're in that regard we both share, coming from another country. And what's your experience in like coming from a Latino musician coming to the place where everybody is, all the best are here, our idols pretty much, are here. So what's your take on do I need to compete? How do I get a gig here? You know?
Well, I think it's a complex question. I think you need to be able to not only communicate musically, but you need to be able to communicate in English, because that's the language that is spoken in the majority of times.
Right.
Of course, you can also be part of the Spanish-speaking market and industry, where perhaps you don't need to speak English, but you still, if you're from Brazil, you're going to need to speak Spanish.
Right, right.
So it doesn't mean you need to be able to present a dissertation in front of people, but you need to be able to communicate, basically. I remember once a friend of mine called Renato Neto, he's a keyboard player from Brazil, and he was playing with these heavy R&B people.
Yeah.
Eric Benet, and then he ended up playing with Prince. For years. And I remember him saying something like, obviously he had an accent when he was playing, because he didn't grow up playing, or we all have our own accent when we play a certain style, right? But he told me that he understood that they wanted his accent in their music.
Right.
They wanted to use that difference to make their music more unique.
Right. Makes total sense.
Right? So I remember I was touring with Katie Lang. This is 2008 or 9. And here I am. And, I'd never listened to country music before.
Right.
I've heard it, but it was not something that I listened to when I grew up. I never played in country bands. I'm not talking about the modern country. I'm talking about old school country. Yeah, traditional country. And I'm there, and I'm on stage with her, and we're playing this country song, and I'm feeling like a fraud, because I have an accent. I don't. And I told her, like, hey, I don't play country, and she looked at me. It's like, oh, now you do.
Right.
And it's like, okay.
I mean, it's like because a lot of people, and all my friends in Spain, a lot of the times, musicians, and we talk about this, and they're saying that, precisely this, like, oh my God, where you're gonna go to a city, like, how do you compete? And my journey, I think that's why I relate to what you were saying. My journey was like, at the beginning, you're trying to blend in and trying to do what everything else is doing.
Right.
And then it took me some years to realize that was the wrong approach. Like, what you need to do is actually, wait, I can't be like everybody else, but nobody can be like me. So, at the end of the day, it's like finding your... LA I think it's a great city to kind of like force you to figure out who you are.
Absolutely.
Both personally, and then that's going to translate into your art.
Of course, yeah. They're all interconnected. It's not one thing and the other.
Right, because a lot of people, I feel like, and I think that's what makes the difference from a great instrumentalist to a great musician.
Right.
Like, there's so many amazing virtuoso piano or guitar players or drummers, but they're horrible musicians. And I mean it with all the, the respect. Meaning, like, here it's kind of like, because personally you go through so much, no? I mean, what's your take on that? Yeah.
Well, we were doing a session maybe 2 months ago for Sarah. And, the minute I started working on my album, I kind of, by default, stopped practicing guitar.
Right.
Because I was focusing on arranging and writing and producing, and playing guitar became, what I did, but not my focus at that point. So we were doing this session the other day, and I get the charts and the music, and it's, it's some fusion-y, and there are a lot of notes, and it requires technical ability and dexterity. And I texted her, hey, do you need me to play these melodies? And you go like, yeah. I was like, man, I'm going to have to practice for this. And it's like, yeah, I know, we all are. But at the end of the day, I think because of working on my album and producing and starting to look at things from a bigger perspective.
Right.
I think that as a guitar player, I'm definitely not nearly as good as I was maybe 10 years ago, but as a musician, there's no comparison.
Right.